Walla, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Oh, I'm so excited too. I can't wait to learn more about what you've been up to. And 5 years for Birthright Africa. That's fantastic.
Yes, thank you very much. It is really great because it's been a vision of mine since 2004. And that's what the idea came to me. I was a young professional working in the finance sector at the time. And that's where I thought I was actually going to be for the rest of my career. But a combination of things were happening to me as I'm, coming into understanding of who I am as a professional, who I am as a person in my early 20s, recognizing there's a whole bunch of history and culture that I'm disconnected from, that I don't know as a person of African descent, and how that impacts me in negative. And so learning about groups that were bringing that history and culture to their youth and young adults of African descent with a birthright experience, 10-day trip for free to learn that heritage made me realize I needed this, and if I did, a whole bunch of us needed it as well. Where is Africa for Black young people like myself who are missing that connection, that pride, that confidence about who we are, especially as we aspire towards being leaders, global leaders in the world. And you know how difficult that becomes over time as you see less and less of you the higher up you go. And so I'm beginning to doubt myself or wonder if I'm being perceived as a leader, because I also don't know the history of us in that space, in leadership, in creativity, in thinking. And then I started beginning that education, connecting myself back to my roots, which happened to be a student in business. When I came to America at the age of 11, escaping, economic oppression from the that happened at the time that my dad got ousted from a government position, to come and bring us to the US. And so I was very much American focused. I'd grown up around the world at that point, very global in nature. Multiculturalism was really what I thrived in. We landed in New York City. And so I was excited that America was just the next country we got to go to. And it's America, right? A place I've actually gotten some connection for exposure through media, television. Now I'm in that country, I can pursue education, true immigrant mentality. But ultimately, you start realizing there's gaps that you will have to deal with, or systems of oppression. Now we're very clear in talking about racism in a real way. And at the time, I had no idea that's what would be something that I'm dealing with. And so the Birthright Africa mission ensures that you don't succumb to those concerns or the issues of pride, confidence in who you are, because you realize the greatness in your background. And I finally got to go to Sudan 15 years at 25, and I saw some shift in me and desire to want to continue to connect. And I wanted to just bring that to other young people.
Walla, thank you. And I hear the passion in your voice. I see it in your eyes. And that's so exciting because you're working to bring this gift to so many, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. This is a gift of awareness, a gift of transformation, and a gift of impact. Let's talk about those.
Absolutely. So the whole idea is that, as we aspire in our lives, we want to feel that it's possible what we're aspiring to. And a lot of it's based imposter syndrome, no matter who you are. But when those concerns or those issues are really in your face, it's double the reason that you have to really attack it head on. We don't really learn our Black history at the depth that we should in our school system, whether that's American Black history or Black history. We're trying to do a little bit better now, although we're seeing a little bit of a backlash on that too, right? And so there's this desire for Birthright Africa to ensure that our young people learn that history ensure that they will fulfill on those aspirations. Our mission is to instill that pride, that confidence, that creativity, and connection. We call it heritage-based leadership development. Because right now we only have about 2% of the United States led manager by people about. When we are 13% of the population, we clearly see the gap there. And if you take it to the regional level, for example, in New York City, about a quarter of the population is of African descent. So if our organizations, our civic society, our government don't reflect that in our leadership, we're not going to have the voices, the creativity, the contribution, and the gifts of those people in society. And at the end of the day, we have always been creative and inventive and contributing to world history. It was just the process of enslavement and colonization that upended that, disconnected us from our places of origin, from our families, took the values and skills we had and brought them over to the new world for others to reap the economic reward. This is essentially reversing that and saying we're going to reap the rewards of leadership and economic contribution and take it all the way back to our ancestors, where in Africa, you have the highest or most plentiful resources in the world. So why do we not feel connected to that? And it's because of these narratives and the disconnection historically. And you see the narratives of the media still challenged by that new age mentality of the continent, and that birthright will completely switch it. So in addition to cultural sites and museums, we're taking young people to Impact Hub, which is like a tech incubation hub. They're meeting the leaders and entrepreneurs of African descent. And we actually start locally in the US to know that history and that culture and that present day legacy being built right now. And it culminates on the continent so that you understand it's global in nature and where we are, or where our ancestors is from too, is rooted in that great. And so this multi-pronged approach is truly transformational because you're getting an exposure you probably never would have at that particular age. So impact ages 13 to 30, because the financial resources are just really difficult to come by. Even with study abroad opportunities in college, it's already tough to try to get to school, to pay your school fee. And we know the numbers there are low. So only about 6% of Black students are doing study abroad. And of those, only about 4% are going to the continent of Africa. So you have complete connection to a past, a present, and a future that could truly transform not only your life, but those after you. What we're doing at Birthright Africa is changing the African diaspora for generations to come.
Thank you, Walla. And again, very exciting. You mentioned the multifaceted approach and the ability to engage someone at such a deep level, which I would offer is a more meaningful level, and then empower them to pay it forward, right? And that is a nice segue to my next question, to talk about you know, your passion for people, your passion for education, your passion for change is so inspiring. Walk us through this, Walla. Why are these areas so important to you?
It's because I was that person struggling with culture and identity as a young student and professional coming of age in America, where, you know, growing up, you are one way at home, or you're expected to be. Being of Sudanese descent, had an Arab, African, and Muslim household, where, you know, there was a lot of great communal values, right? And you felt very supported by your you know, to pursue your education and fulfill this dream for, you know, your family back home. You know, you are really representing them. But that comes with a lot of pressure too. And there was a lot of cultural things that I couldn't do because I was of this background. But America promises me this idea of being anyone I want to be. As long as I get my education, get my job, my career, make my money. And so in my mind, that was freedom. That's what I want. And so you chase that, you go after that, and then it starts becoming a very lonely place. And I believe we actually recognize that in the pandemic for the first time at scale. That it's actually community that helps you thrive. So this tension between the individual and the communal collective was one that I was struggling with, and that I know a lot of others are. And when you don't have that sense of community, even in the workplace, and especially if you're facing microaggression, racism, it will take you out. People quit early. People will upend a career trajectory because obviously the psyche, the heart, the spirit can't.
Great point.
And so I was possibly coming from, like, I was dealing with some of those challenges, not knowing. And I worked arguably at a great firm that was trying its best to support young people like me. And still, because of this cultural tension that I was feeling, I made some mistakes in addition to what was happening systemically. And so I'm passionate that others are aware that they're not alone. Because I felt so alone and these things were only happening to me. And I remember even at Kelley one time telling our colleagues when we were having, I think, like a Black History Month or something, I was telling our classmates, you know, we have these pressure as like one of the few or the only Black person or the only woman in a room to not make a mistake at the workplace. Because if we make a mistake, then we might be ruining it for everyone else that's in our group, because our group. And so that is a lot of pressure and a lot of feeling alone and isolated that I was having these conversations. I built the Birthright Africa program based on not just my personal experiences, but these professional experiences, and ensuring we would have the frank, real conversations with leaders and entrepreneurs of African descent that had risen to the level that we could see ourselves go, because we also have to see ourselves in those positions. But we're thinking, okay, they made it, no problem. Like, they just, like, you know, had no issue. The stories that they will share of the trials and tribulations of the discrimination and the challenges. And then you realize, like, oh, okay, so it's not just me. That is so important for our youth and young African descent. And that's why I'm so passionate about this and ensuring that we know at a core ancestral level that there's nothing impossible for us to achieve if we come together in community and in ourselves.
Absolutely. And Walla, thank you. I encourage you to continue to follow your passion and realize it right through your work. And I know you're doing that. And I thank you for it, because it is so inspiring and it is so needed.
Thank you so much. I mean, I don't say this lightly when I talk about it. And, you know, you saw it on the website, and I'm happy for people to go see what we do. There's an entire Birthright Africa ecosystem. It's about networks and building these relationships. The way Birthright Africa is also able to try to drive the Birthright experience at scale and sustainability is because we partner with high schools, colleges, and community-based organizations that have the youth and young adults that we want to impact, and have those education partners build the programs in-house with our technical expertise and, of course, funding support. So that way in Birthright, we are this umbrella organization. And that's the learning I took from Kelley and being in strategic management, understanding and not being scared of the idea of scale. People have been taking young people to the continent for free for years, but it hasn't been this institutionalized, branded. I learned so much about marketing and how important that was. And how do you talk to your target customer and make them aware that they have an opportunity to make this kind of impact? And so the young people see the level of collaboration and coordination occurring as an investment in them, and therefore believe that there's others believing that ability for them to pursue and persist in spite of what is going on systemically. That is key, because we will also connect you to the leader and entrepreneur in the field that you are interested in pursuing, because we understand how powerful mentoring is.
Absolutely.
Yourself now doing the work that you want. That was also missing. I didn't realize I needed mentorship because I thought I had all the technical knowledge for the most part, but it's so much more than technical knowledge now, right? With leadership, aspiration, and overcoming challenges. And at the end of the day, also what I learned at Kelley, like trust and relationship building. I had no idea that was so critical and pivotal until I began to see, and genuinely, authentically, being able to connect to people. It's not just because I want an opportunity and you have something that I need, but I'm truly interested in a mutual benefit, in an impact based on us working together. That is a different way to operate as a leader. And that's what we also look to impart, that it's not just your skill technically, because a lot of us can have experienced that marginalization. It's because we think it's all based on a skill set of technical. But if you have a hesitance about who you are and your personality and your ability to show up culturally within your identity, or whatever that identity is, if you have any hesitance, that is going to upend your leadership. You're not going to be able to be your authentic self and therefore thrive in the workplace. And finally, I think we're starting to really see that in a big way, that people are just saying, no, that's not me. I want to live life to the fullest, because life is not guaranteed, as you see this pandemic.
Yes. Thank you, Walla. And I want to ask you, how do we better celebrate and leverage the achievement of women across the international business landscape?
Okay, so you asked, I didn't even tell you in preparation, but I on that like slogan, or not even slogan, it's just fact. I mean, women are 51% of the population. And I'm a numbers person, let's be clear, right? Like, I love strategy, but finance, accounting was my first skill set. It's about the numbers. Show me the numbers. I have no clue why we are not 50% or more of the leaders and entrepreneurs, outside of all the systemic discrimination issues that we now have, right? If we just look to target numerically without the misconceptions of what it means for women to be leading, the world would be a totally different place. And there's places like Rwanda that unfortunately, due to genocide, like 62% of the parliament is women, and their health outcomes, education outcomes, their environment, their economics. They're driving climate change. On the continent here, we all look to Rwanda as an example. You gotta put the leadership number. And so I like also when I see this, there's like a 60-40 rule, if I'm not mistaken. Any executive board or company or government entity cannot be more than the other, or more than 60-40. Just because 50-50 is so even. Okay, 60-40. But it's the idea that you work towards measurement. And that's the thing about DEI. Now we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Finally, everyone's kind of like, okay, this isn't a nice to have. It's a necessity. How do you really do it in a way that is impactful, transformative, and long-lasting? You have to measure it. You have to measure it. If you're not measuring it, it's just talk. There's not going to be enough sustainable action because you're not holding yourself accountable. And so it's the accountability and ensuring that women feel like they can also bring their authentic self to the workplace, right? And in the past, it has felt like you had to take on a little bit more of the masculine traits of leadership. And some of us naturally have that, but there are other elements like collaboration, communication, creativity that are sort of for that other space. And we need male allies to get it, to speak to other men, to say, hey, I see what you're doing here. That's not okay. That's actually going to stop this trajectory of movement. So in the same way we talk, I think we gained some awareness around racism, more of a problem for white folks to get into to help solve as allies to accomplish. You can't put the onus on the group that's marginalized to fix the problem. Because they actually have really good faith. They're feeling the backlash. And so it's the folks really creating the problem that have to be first creating the solution.
Oh, I appreciate your thoughts so much. Thank you, Walla. You are spot on, at least. And I hope many will listen and hear this and adjust accordingly and be a part of the solution, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, hey, so 5 years of transformative work. How about these next 5 years? What are they going to look like for Birthright Africa and for you?
We are finally getting back to travel.
Into. What I will say, though, that was a positive coming out of the pandemic that is going to help shape the next 5 years and beyond is virtual programming included as a pre-travel experience and exposure. So we ended up having a solution to a problem that we didn't even realize. There are over 25,000 people of African descent that have registered with us to receive this opportunity. We are working our hardest to build the programs with our partners, but those take time. So what do you do in the interim to engage and educate? And so the virtual learning, which is actually going to be driven by the through self-exploration, going to cultural sites in their neighborhood, documenting that over video, social media style, engaging young people in the way they like to have fun. These tools are all education, the edutainment stage, if you will. And they share that with us. That becomes a part of their profile. We want to build out these virtual portfolios. And we can pick those that make, real great showcase of the culture of this legacy of these cultural roots and what we call legacy of innovation within our Black African culture to showcase to their peers. So now you get peer-to-peer learning. And once there's a program available for you to travel, we refer you to apply, and your portfolio includes the self-exploration and the pre-travel virtual programming you've done to highlight that you're really seeking this opportunity. Because even though it's a birthright, you want to give it to everyone who's committed that every single girl of African descent receives their birthright, you still got to find those that are really seeking it, looking for the impact now, because those folks are going to be the most impacted. It's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing. And we've been told by so many sense of home and community that they see that felt palpably when they get to. And of course, it upends this negative narrative and perception of root poverty. You realize, this is just like this part of the world, or this part of the country. A lot of our Caribbean Americans feel connected to their Caribbean to the continent, or they're meeting the young entrepreneur that's solving their problem and actually solving the problem in a way that we haven't thought about. So I actually need more support in understanding how to solve something. And now they want to come back multiple times, multiple countries. They feel this sense of the resources, the clarity, the belief in themselves to pursue their leadership and entrepreneurship, and include the continent as part of that exchange. That is the key, the connection to a future that could be global now in nature and not just American. And over 90% have even told us that they can see themselves on the continent. So over the next 5 years, I see a couple of our alums telling me, hey, I'm moving to such a country. We've already had a few that have done that. But in terms of an organization, we're looking to impact 5,000 people, 25,000. And have 500 partners. So we are a high school, college, university organization, even a bright corporate partner. We can help impact the young adults that are age that are employees at your organization. We're
heritage-based development. We are excited that this becomes a global name, and in the next 5 years, the perception of the continent and the possibilities on it are completely shifting. And we don't have these negative targets that are palpable right now, still to this day. And instead, the vision of greatness, innovation, and a future of possibility for our youth and young adults, young adults of Africa descent, to feel that they share global identity of being Black and of African heritage is celebrated and asked to contribute and invested in through not only these leadership positions, but the funding, the venture funding, which we know right now is really low, right? Like all these numbers that we can measure and track. So I'm excited as, someone with that business mindset. That's what I love about what the Kelley program and being allowed me to do. Even though I have this deep, deep passionate heart, I want to see this impact, these numbers that we know will bring us out of the leadership crisis that we're in right now. That's what I truly feel. We're in a leadership crisis when we don't have enough representation across various voices and identity.
Well, Walla, thank you so much. I've greatly enjoyed our conversation. And the next one, we need to talk about the actual stories and the people behind the stories, right? And the impact that they're having. And I am so grateful for the work you're doing to change the perception, this great need for the perception to change, right? And I am humbled by the work you're doing, and I'm excited that I had the opportunity to speak with you today about it. And I wish you my very best, and so glad that you're yet another Kelley alumna who is working to change the world for the better.
Well, thank you so much, Tim. I cannot wait to get back to Bloomington and tell my story.
Well, fantastic. We'll make sure to get you here soon.
Please do. I miss it. I really do.
Well, all the best for continued health and continued good work, be it virtually and in person. Walla, thanks so much for your time today. It was a great pleasure speaking with you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.